Hey everybody, it's Charles from HumbleMechanic.com. Today, I'm going to take your questions on camshafts, timing chains, making car videos, and more. This is episode 195 of the Humble Mechanic Podcast. All right, in order to get a question on a show like this, email me, charles@humblemechanic.com. Put question for Charles in the subject. Ask your question right at the top. Give me some space by hitting the enter button. Then give me the details of your question. Also, if you don't see your question on a show like this, be sure to check out the quick videos playlist on YouTube where I do one question per video. All right, let's talk about the sponsor of the day, which is CRP Automotive. CRP deals in a ton of OE maintenance and repair parts, timing belt kits, suspension components, and even fluids. In fact, they make the factory DSG fluid for Volkswagen and Audi. So check them out at crpautomotive.com. All right, real quick before we get into your questions, you guys have asked me to set up a Patreon, so I have done that. There will be a little dot up in the screen, whichever side it pops up on, with a link to the Patreon, some really cool, fun stuff over there, as well as down in the video description. You can check that out. Also, if you want exclusive content, videos you can't see anywhere else, discounts you won't get anywhere else, as well as VW Audi training manuals and more, check out the Crew Membership program. It's down in the description as well. This is built so that you can join, you're part of an awesome community, and you can make all of your money back with amazing discounts to places like Black Forest, Eurowise, MT Knives, S&P Automotive, Adams Polishes, Eastwood, Scanner, Danner, and more. So be sure to check that out. All right, guys, with all that wrapped up, let's get into these questions. First one comes from Sean. I recently purchased a newish TDI with a Gen 3 2-liter, a 2015 Golf. I recently saw a video you showed camshaft wear on TDI and was wondering if by chance you knew if the problem would have been fixed by this engine revision, or is there any measures I could take to prevent or slow the wear? P.S. I'm new to your channel and can't believe I haven't ran across your site sooner. Keep up the great work. Sean, thanks for the kind words, man. So you're Gen 3, right? We're still, for the most part anyway, these cars are ultra low mileage. The car that I showed with the camshaft, where I'm assuming anyway, we're having to go way back to the pump deuce era, so 04, 5, 6 TDI. This is a long time ago, gosh, 11 years old now. So far, internal engine problems on most everything new, and by new, I'm talking Gen 1, 2, 3 common rail TDIs, the Dieselgate cars, right, have been pretty good. I've seen a couple of oddities. I've seen actually lifters blow off. I've seen bent connecting rods on the first gen. Internals on Gen 2, I saw one. And with that brief interruption, I got a phone call. So where was I? So the camshaft, older generation, the internals on the newer stuff have been pretty good. I saw one Passat, so this is Gen 2. One Passat, I think it dropped a valve or something like that and did a bunch of internal engine damage. But that's the only one I've ever seen with engine damage. Really, if we take out all the Dieselgate crap and put that over somewhere where I don't want to think about it right now, the only thing I've really seen problematic with the Gen 3 TDIs is going to be based around AdBlue. And really, it's all the AdBlue injector and the AdBlue injector line. There's something about poor fitment at this line where it goes into the injector and basically the line leaks. No drivability problems, never seen any check engine light around it, anything like that. It's simply replacing the line, which isn't the most fun job in the world, but it's not horrible. Or replacing the injector. I have had to do both on that job. So, going forward, what the common problems are going to be are still pretty unknown. 15, 2 years old, you probably have a handful of these cars up over 100,000 miles. But remember, a ton of these cars sat on the lot, hidden up the hill, at least where I worked anyway, hidden up the hill and didn't get sold till very, very recently. So that even reduced the number of these vehicles that are on the road. Not only that, you only had 1 year of this engine, not like the first and second gen where you had 5 years of or 2 years of. This is only 1 year of this engine. So the problems are probably going to be less, and then they won't be fixed by the latest generation. This is one of the negatives of that engine. So, thankfully, most of them are in pretty good shape. Also, thankfully, if they're the cars that have been modified with the VW approved emissions modification, then they got a stupid awesome warranty. You should have a book that says all the information. In fact, I did a video on it. If you want to check out that video I did on it where I go through the warranty and what it covers and some more in-depth stuff about it. So Sean, no need to worry about camshaft wear at this point. If you are worried about that kind of stuff, the best thing you can do is make sure you're changing your oil, make sure you're using the right oil, the right fuel, doing your maintenance. If something's gonna fail, it's gonna fail, but don't tempt it by doing, 20,000 mile oil changes or using oil, right, off the shelf oil in your car. So use the right stuff, make sure you're doing that, and you should be just fine. All right, next one comes from Christopher. I bought an 08 R32 for my daughter's 16th birthday. Right on, Dad, right on. The compression is low across all cylinders, 130 and 120 to be exact. I would like to keep it on the road, so I plan rebuilding the head and do cylinder leak down once the head is pulled, and inspect the cylinder walls as well. Hope I don't need to pull the whole engine. I plan to put a high lift cam, non-stock valve springs, and a UM tune. Anyway, I was just at a shop and they said they needed to pull the whole engine to do the head. They said with 107,000 miles, the timing chain needs to be replaced. This sounds strange to me. I plan on doing the work myself and will pull the engine if needed, but I've donated all my hoists. I would prefer not to pull the engine, as I'm sure I'll ruin other parts along the way. What do you think? Does the timing chain actually need to be replaced on a top-end build? Can I get the head off without pulling the engine? So, good question. I'll be honest, it's been a while since I've done that kind of work on an R32, so on this newest generation VR6. My world has been the older VR6s, but that's okay. Let's talk through this anyway. So in order to get the head off, you're pulling the front end, right? So you're gonna put it in service position or just pull the whole front end off. That's what I would do if I was going that deep, especially at the house or at a shop, not paying someone to do it. As far as does the engine need to come out? Do you need to do the chain? I don't think the engine needs to come out. You can do this job with the engine in the car. You probably are gonna have to pull the transmission to get access to everything. And if it were me, man, and I'm looking at cam, I'm looking at tune, I'm looking at lifters, put new timing chain on it. Just put a new timing chain on it. Put a new timing chain on it. I'd hate to see you spend all this time, all this money, not put a new timing chain on it, and then have a timing problem, with stretch or simply failure. These weren't really problematic for failure, but you're going pretty deep anyway. If you're pulling the head off, might as well, right? Take the trans out though. I wouldn't pull the engine necessarily. I'd probably leave the engine in, but I would pull the transmission out. That's how I would do it at the shop. That's how I would do it at the house, unless it makes more sense for you to pull the complete powertrain out, separate it, work on it on a bench, work on it on an engine stand rather than in the car. It really depends on your setup. But if it were me and I was trying to just simply get it done and get it done right, then I would pull the transmission out and then leave the engine in the car. You don't really need to worry about messing anything else up. Take your time. Look, if you're qualified and capable of R&R a cylinder head on a VR6, you should be fully capable of taking the transmission out without tearing anything else up. You could think about dropping the subframe down. That'll give you more flexibility even than leaving the subframe in and just pulling everything out through the front. You'll have to sort of make that judgment call when the time is needed to make the judgment call. There's a million ways to do this job. If I were gonna do it, I'd pull the front end, I'd take the transmission from the front, pull it out through the front and leave the engine in the car. But I would absolutely do timing chains on this car. I don't know if the car runs or not, but it may be worth looking at a dual mass flywheel. Depends on if there's a problem. Clutch packs aren't super common on those, but if you're doing a build, it may be a good opportunity to put a clutch pack in the DSG box. So something else to think about as well. While you can get the head off without replacing the timing chains, it's simply not worth it in my opinion. Again, even if you were doing a stock rebuild, the car's got low compression for a reason. I would hate to tempt fate on why it does and not replace the parts properly and thoroughly on a rebuild. It's the same thing I'm doing with this one. I could have got away with not replacing everything in the timing circuit, but I got it apart anyway, right? Why not spend the extra $200 or whatever, 250, $300, $500 even to do it right now? Because no matter what you spend on it now, it's gonna be cheaper than having to do it a second time and paying for it a second time anyway. So, dude, congratulations to your daughter for turning 16 and you buying her a really awesome car. I hope that works out. Hopefully you can get her out in the garage to give you a hand. I think that would be really awesome to get her help on and let her have some investment in that car too. Not that I'm giving parenting advice. I just think that would be really, really awesome. I hope that helps. And guys, hey, if you have any other insight, maybe some different things to consider with this VR6 build for Chris, please throw that down in the comment section. It would really help him out. All right, next one up comes from Peterman. First off, I love your show and your YouTube channel. I bought a Mark 7 GTI last year and it has been a great window into the VW world. Thanks for all you do. Now to the nitty gritty. I have an '03 Miata I'm in the process of restoring. It involves a lot of welding and cutting of metal as they are known to rust pretty bad. The ultimate question after filming many videos of auto repair, what kind of things do you think make the filming go more efficiently? Not doing them and just fixing the car is the most efficient way to do it. I know that doesn't help you at all, but it's actually very, very true. So when it comes to efficiency, I'll be very honest, I am probably not the most efficient executor of filming when it comes to doing automotive videos. I'm a lot of times back and forth. So I think what I would probably recommend to someone that wants to start shooting any kind of repair video is schedule out your video. So do an outline, make a plan of what you're going to do. So I just finished doing a video on removing and installing the bumper on my Passat. It's all filmed. I just need to finish some editing. And that's taken a really long time because I'm going back and forth. I'm actually having to do parts multiple times to show it again or show it right, or the camera wasn't in focus, or the audio's weird right there, or I talk about something and I didn't show it and you really need to see what it looks like. But you need to see what it looks like disassembled because you can't put a camera behind the bumper to show when I'm releasing the clip. So there's a lot of little things like that that if you outline the job, right? So outline the job and all the steps that you need, and then think about and document what you're gonna need to film for that. So if there's hidden screws, how are you gonna film that? Think about these things beforehand. Once the part's off, okay, is there anything I can film with the part off? The bumper cover, for example, I had to take the bumper cover back off so I could show how to get the center grill out. That all takes time. Understand, guys, and this is for anybody that watches an automotive video on how to do something, the amount of time that it takes to produce that video versus simply doing the repair is 5 times at least more time. So that engine block is another really good example. I could have done that in 2 days, and most of that would be waiting for paint to dry. But it took like a week because I needed to make sure I moved the camera. And my hand wasn't like in the way, right? I'm bad about this kind of deal with the camera. The headlight portion of that bumper cover video, I'm trying to find workarounds to that because my arm is in the shot a lot because that's right where the camera is and right where the camera needs to be, but that's also right, like you need to get in there. So it can be really, really challenging. So think about angles where you're not in the way and you're showing what you're talking about and you're executing the task and doing a really good job explaining it. This is much, much harder than people do really understand. I'm not complaining. I enjoy it. I really, really enjoy it. But I think people think that you set the camera up, you take your clicker, you hit go, and then you just do the job just like you would if it were, you know, at the shop or something. And that really couldn't be further from the truth. It is a very difficult task to shoot good quality automotive repair videos. Travel back in time to last year, Eric the car guy and I are in Atlanta shooting quick videos. I mean, 2 minutes max, right? I think the longest one was 4 minutes on how to take parts off cars. Each one of those shoots, just to film, took an hour, at least an hour, if not longer. And then that doesn't include the edit time and the rest of the production time or going back and refilming something because you missed something or you said left instead of right, right instead of left, up instead of down, whatever. You said like you made one little tiny error that you caught, thankfully, in edit that you need to fix. So I don't want to discourage you because it's so much fun to make these videos and do cool car repair videos and do cool work on cars. It's so much fun. I just want you to make sure you understand that it is a lot more work than people realize, especially if you want to do good quality videos. You know, if you were to ask Chris Fix how much time he invests into one of his videos, it's like 90 hours, right? It's a crazy amount of time that it takes for him to make the quality of videos that he does. But you see the result of that effort in Chris's videos. So something I highly respect about Chris. So just keep that in mind. You know, it's a lot of fun. You could also easily just plop a GoPro up, do your thing, no audio, no voiceover, just play some music and, you know, cut and weld, and people may enjoy that too. Mixture of both, I don't really know. A lot of this stuff is very, very heavy trial and error. Try it, see if it works. If it works, cool. If it doesn't, put it on the back burner, circle around and try it again maybe at another time. So I don't think that like answered your question on how to do automotive videos. Just a few things to think about for you when you're producing them, and any of you guys that watch them, go to your favorite YouTuber and just throw a comment on their latest video and say, thanks, I really love what you do, because they put a lot of work, at least the good ones anyway, put a lot of work into getting that video out for you guys. All right, last one of the day comes from Tobias. My question is about my 2011 Tiguan, which keeps burning fuses even though the recall has been completed. I bought the car in early December from a mom and pop place. A week later, the dash tells me an assortment of bulbs have just gone out. Using my powers of deduction, I was knowing there was no way they would all fail at once. Good job, dude, because I've seen technicians make that exact mistake. That is when I found a burnt fuse and block, took it to the dealer after finding about the recall. Apparently, the recall had been completed a couple of years ago. Last week, I had the same fuse go out again. What can I do? VW won't fix a recall more than once, even though it's the exact same condition. Attached are some pics of the issue. Thanks for any help. Show is awesome. Tobias. All right, so what we're talking about is the fuse panel recall on. It was the Tiguan, it was the Golf, it was the EOS, it was a bunch of cars, right? And the fuse would melt. The fuse would melt according to Volkswagen because it was not temperature or not heat coded, I should say. So the recall, when it first came out, had two options. Inspect the fuse. If the fuse was good, plop a new fuse in it. Or if there was if it had been melted, then you would replace the fuse panel and install a new fuse. I'm a little surprised that Volkswagen isn't willing to fix this. I've seen other recalls. The one that comes to mind is the R5, which is a big recall on the B5.5 Passat. But the portion that we would see multiple times would be the fuel tank portion of it, where one of the little nipples would crack and it would leak fuel. Right? I didn't mean to belittle that. It's a big deal when a car leaks gasoline, right? And it would have already been executed, and 5 years later, come back leaking fuel. As a dealership, we would call, get approval from Volkswagen, and then they would fix it, or they would pay us to fix it, I should say. I'm shocked that they're not doing this with this fuse panel. Not that this is going to cause a fire or anything like that, but having two corners of your lights out in your car, that's a big deal. So I'm a little surprised. Odds are, man, you're probably going to have to get this fuse panel replaced, whether it's at the dealer, whether it's at an independent, whether you can try and sweet dog VW of America into helping you out on this. Send them these pictures that you sent me, and maybe you'll get some further than just calling them. It's really tough, but you're going to want to replace this fuse panel. This is not a hard DIY. The hardest part of this DIY is remembering where the fuses go. So what I always do is I snap a picture of it with my phone, I set both fuse panels on the bench, and I just go one at a time and move them one at a time. And then I got my phone to just double check my work. It's like 5 nuts on the front for the front fuses, and then 1 bolt in the center. It's like a T45, and the fuse panel just lifts right out. Of course, you want to disconnect the battery before you take that out too. But yeah, super, super easy. But I think you really need to replace this fuse panel. I've never seen one have a second failure after the fuse panel's been replaced. So I think once you do that, you should be okay. There was some questions on what exactly caused this. Was it really the coating on the fuse? Was it a fuse panel issue? Was it current draw? I don't know enough to give you a good, intelligent answer, or an answer that I'm bold enough to say, here's what the problem is, because I don't want to be wrong and mislead anybody when I don't know for sure. So, dude, get the fuse panel replaced. It sucks, but if they're not going to help you with it, you still need to get it replaced. You can't afford to have, be driving at 1 a.m. and have 2 corners of your lights go out. It's not safe. It's going to be a one-way ticket to get pulled over for sure. So just keep that in mind. All right, guys, I'm going to wrap it up there. Questions, comments, you know what to do. If you enjoyed this video, thumbs up it. Don't forget to subscribe right here on YouTube or over on the blog at humblemechanic.com. If you want exclusive content you can get nowhere else, discounts to places like MT Knives, Adams Polishes, Eastwood, Eastwood, and more. Check out the Crew membership program. You can also throw some support over on Patreon, or the easiest and freest one is using my Amazon link. Mash that link, buy whatever you want. It costs you nothing extra, but I get a little kickback off of it. So it's a really awesome way to support me, support the show, and it doesn't cost you anything but one extra link click rather than typing Amazon in your browser. So guys, don't forget you can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and of course Snapchat. All right, thanks so much for watching. I love you, and I'll see you next time.